said he might need to be called, okay, because he said sometimes he has problems accessing his technology.
He said he didn't get the link yesterday, so I resent it, and then he said he got it, so.
Okay.
Just got it.
Now it's behind.
So yeah, we still just have 2 board members. Okay, well, we have to wait for another board member before we can start. So hopefully, we'll give it another minute or 2, and if we don't see another one log on, then we're probably gonna have to give Art a call. Dr. Heim, I'm going to assume might be tied up with a patient, but she was planning to log in. And Art sometimes has problems with technology.
Same.
Looked like all the dresses were pretty though. And sparkly, very sparkly. Yeah, that's the trend now. I like that.
Yeah, I almost feel like the 2 of them are like the same, just different
Mhm.
styles.
All right, well. What do you think? Do you think we should call Art and try to give him the number at least so he could just call in on his phone?
Do we have a number?
There should be a Zoom number, isn't there?
Yeah, Zoom number, we can throw them on that phone, either one. The Zoom
Okay.
number is probably better. Let me pull it up here for you now.
Okay.
You tell you what it is. You sent it to him, let's see. You forwarded to him at like 4 o'clock.
I know. He warned me yesterday though, that if he wasn't on to have someone call him.
Yeah, hold on. Sorry, it's not easy to pull up.
Could you just go off of this?
Well, I think it'd be better if he called the Zoom number.
Okay, Art?
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna give you the Zoom number to call in.
Okay, I'm on the computer right now. I had to get out.
Oh, okay.
You know, their certificate, yeah. Just a little bit late here too.
Okay, perfect.
You got a number that you want me to call?
Well, if you can get in on the computer, let's try that first.
I'm gonna do it my cell phone because my computer's an old one.
Oh, okay.
I don't have anything there, so I need about 3 minutes or 4 here to get this here email off for my organic certificate, so.
Because if he calls, it makes it.
If I don't join in at about 5,
Okay.
then give me that phone number and I'll do one or the other.
312
Okay, ready?
312
626
626, okay,
6799.
6799, okay.
And then he's gonna need like the meeting ID and the passcode too.
Okay, well, let's hopefully you get in on the computer though, or on your cell phone.
Okay, all right.
Okay, bye.
It's like a big number. you just right there.
Okay, well, Art is gonna try to log in through his phone, so sorry, we're gonna have just a couple minute delay here.
Hey, Becky, it's Julie. I've got my volume up as high as I can, and I know I'm a little hard of hearing, but is there any way you can turn your volume up when you guys talk that I can hear it a little better?
Okay, let's test it. Can you hear me? How well can you hear me right now?
Well, I mean, it's pretty good, but I'm just worried when, Nicole or someone calls in on their ends, if I'm gonna be able to hear
Okay. Dalton's gonna check that right now.
her. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, the microphone is the highest level. So if everyone can just make sure if we speak in a louder tone. And then Julie, if there's anything that you can't hear, just stop us.
Okay, I'll ask to have it repeated. Okay, thank you.
You still checked out.
Am I on?
Hello. We're kind of finagling with a little bit of the audio here. And then we'll get the meeting started.
That's fine, so.
Okay.
All right, ready to go.
Okay, all right, well, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. We have a quorum here. And I do know that Dr. Heim will join us when she can. So we've got, 4:36. Thanks, everyone. The whole purpose of our meeting today is just to go over a few more details of the IT grant possibility, and just make sure everyone is on the same page, and to be sure that there's just good information sharing for the board before we approve moving forward with the grant. So with that, I know a couple of the board members, I know Dean couldn't be here, but when I spoke with him after our Board of Health meeting last week, when he said, oh, it's a surveillance grant, then we should probably have surveillance cameras.
Yep.
And I was like, no, that's not, that's not what public health surveillance is. So I just wanted to, just in case, for your benefit too, Dr. Behrens, just to make sure everyone's on the same page, there are 4 key components of a public health surveillance system. And surveillance is not a word for like video surveillance. It's for monitoring disease trends. So basically, these 4 components of surveillance are: number 1, collection; number 2, analysis; number 3, dissemination; and number 4, response. Collection and analysis are conducted at the local, state, federal, and international level by public health agencies as well as private industry. So this grant opportunity is the state of Iowa is putting together a new surveillance system, and they don't know what that system is going to look like yet. So that's the fun part. But they want to make sure that all local public health agencies have appropriate hardware and software and equipment so that when this new system does go live, that everybody's going to be able to access it. And then again, if there was a disease investigation or some sort of response in the field, that you have the appropriate equipment to be able to connect to it. And I lost my train of thought there.
So it sounds like a lot of like computer hardware and stuff. Is
Yes.
What it would be
Yes.
geared towards. So like the video conferencing system, that would be out.
No, that could still be. Julie, can you hear Dalton okay? Dalton just had a question about video conferencing. So you can also use this grant opportunity for training of staff for the new software. Secondarily, it can also be for some COVID response. That's a secondary issue. But I talked to someone specifically with this grant program, Leslie, I forget her last name, and asked some of these questions like, would you need the video conferencing, things of that nature? And she said, yes, because that would still be part of your response, and it could also be when this system does go live, what the training will be, for the staff to do that. So if that.
You have to get the agenda.
Oh, sorry, we have to go back to a housekeeping item. We never formally approved the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Thank you.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right. Sorry.
So we were also looking at possibly getting on the board iPads. Would that be applicable then? my other question.
Yeah, yeah. And I think just in the interest of, so that we all kind of go around and share, let's maybe start with, Nikki, do you want to just talk about what you had in mind and how it's, I know you shared stuff initially with us at the board meeting, but just in this format, do you want to maybe rehash that?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm not feeling well, so excuse my voice. But
Sorry to hear that.
so yeah, we had initially for the hardware and software update to make sure that we were up to Windows 10. We wanted to update our computers first of all. I had the idea of going to the Surface tablets. That way, you know, if we had a response, we were able to disconnect and bring those home with us as well. And you can dock them back at the office. Another one of our ideas was, you know, the video conferencing, you know, so we could do that, putting it in our meeting room so we could host, you know, if we did any education or things like that. We could probably use it for information regarding like our local coalition meetings too as well. Things like that. And then just some like wireless earbuds for all the meetings that we listen to on our Zoom computers and things like that. So just updating our computer systems.
Okay.
Any idea on cost on that?
I sent the quote. I don't have it right in front of me. I'm sorry. I'm actually at home. But I think it was around like $12,000 for the 3 computers for the public health staff.
Okay.
Is there like a $24,000 or something for everything you thought you had in mind?
Yeah, and that was for the 2 video conferencing rooms and the 3 computers.
Okay, so 24,000 total. Okay. That's
Yep.
what I thought you said the other day, yes.
Yep.
And just for clarity, the video conferencing room is that a room that would just be purely used by public health staff, or would other entities in the hospital use that room?
It would be in one of the hospital meeting rooms, one of them, and then we thought about putting one in our EOC, the Emergency Operations Center at the hospital, so potentially could be used by others as well.
When I talked with Leslie, I asked her, I explained our situation, how we have, you know, subcontracted for nursing services that is offsite from the county. And she explained that for this grant, it needs to be for the local public health services. So if there are situations such as what we have, and there's other counties that have that scenario, her words were, if anything is co-used in an environment, then it has to be proportionally expensed. So if this room that would potentially be set up at St. Anthony is used 25% of the time by public health, 75% by other departments outside of public health, then that expense breakdown would need to be just 25% to the grant and 75% that St. Anthony would cover. Or we can get by with that by just if we put that type of video conferencing in the Fricky building, which is what we had talked about too. So just FYI.
Well, I don't know how you can try to evaluate percentage wise before you even come into using it. I mean, I don't know how that would work because you don't know how it's going to be used. You know, what percent.
That's why the black and whiteness of it, you know, just for accountability and traceability of the funds, for that it's for the local public health services staff in that capacity. So I guess, Dalton, did you have?
Yeah, so I did bring a couple different video conferencing systems that are pretty decently priced. First one I guess I'll talk about is the one we're using right now. That is the Zoom system, the OWL Pro system. The device itself is just that guy you're looking at right there. That's all you really need. It has directional mics in it. So like right now, you can see how it breaks this out in individual windows.
Mm-hmm.
It has multiple cameras all in that one device to kind of break it out. The price point on that, when I bought it, it was about $1,200, and it looks like they've dropped it down to $1,000 even right now for that, just the device itself.
Okay.
Now, I would suggest obviously either getting some sort of big screen TV or a projector. One of those are going to run you $1,000 to $1,200. But then you're going to have everything all inclusive and everything's going to be done. The other system I was also looking at is a Logitech group video conferencing system. That has individual mics on it, where it would device would sit on the middle of the table. And then they have little satellites that have wires that come off of them and have microphones in them. Sound quality might be a little bit better if you have multiple people talking than the owl would be. It's a little bit more expensive at the price point of $13,500, $1,349. Last but not least, this one's a little bit pricier, but it's kind of a neat system. It's just a single sound bar that mounts up on the wall, generally over a TV. It has a camera and everything installed inside of it. And then it actually integrates with Zoom or whatever video conferencing software you use. They also send a tablet with it to be able to control the mic and everything. So you wouldn't have to purchase a computer with this, since you would have the tablet and everything right there, and the video would show up on the screen. That price point with the tablet, the soundbar, camera system, everything is at $3,200. So those are the three conferencing systems I found. Dean had also asked that I quote out for iPads, just for the Board of Health. It depends on what we get. Like, honestly, I don't see the need to go up to like the big 256 gigabyte iPads. You're really not storing anything local. Email doesn't really take up that big of a footprint on iPhone apps. So there's about a $200 difference between the 64 gigabyte and the 256 gigabyte. So the 64 gigabytes can run you about $300 a piece on government discount. We get a little bit of a discount for being a government entity. If you wanted to go with the bigger ones, and these are 10-inch screen, just Wi-Fi iPads, it's at $449 per iPad. So that's what I got right now. Any questions about that?
And again, those would have to be used for just public health related purposes. Otherwise you fall under the same.
Yeah, so it'd have to fall under Public Health Department.
So it wouldn't be something that they would take home and use. I mean,
Well, that,
unless they were.
yeah, it'd be, I mean, you probably, I know what they do with city council members or hospital board members, typically will have that too. I mean, it's tagged and cataloged so that, you know, you probably sign an agreement that says this is just for these purposes. And I mean, what, do the supervisors have them? How do
Yeah.
they,
So
because
like,
they're not their personal property.
no, but the supervisors, like, the rule of thumb, like, I don't let them have their personal email logged in onto their iPad. And the only thing that's logged in is our county email, and they can't really download any apps or anything like that. And then we have the office apps on there. So now if you did want Office, need in mind that does cost extra. So if they decide they want to be able to open up Excel files, PowerPoint, edit Word files, then you're going to be paying that monthly fee of the $6 or whatever it is for Microsoft apps. So.
And this is Eric from the hospital. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I wanted to go back to the percentage of use from the hospital versus public health. I could have misheard or not heard, but Art kind of brought up a good point there. And I don't know if the question was answered. And that's, how are we supposed to come up with that calculation prior to the equipment being in use to know exactly the percentage use? I'm sure that all has to be done prior to submitting this proposal. So if you guys have any, otherwise, if you have the other public health institutions that are kind of like we are here in Carroll, if we could have that contact information to kind of see how they're splitting that out or how they're coming up with that calculation, because that's going to be pretty difficult to do.
Heather, would you have any suggestion of a similar county that could be contacted that would potentially be applying?
Yeah, I think we reached out to Leslie Leaguer. She would be able to know which counties were hospital-based and how they were doing that, and then she could give you their contact information.
And we only have what, three days before this is all due. So the turnaround time for business days is pretty minimal. So, you know, we'll certainly do what we can, but it's a very quick turnaround time here.
Well,
It is, but I think
when did the grant come out? Was it the beginning of December?
I think it was in November.
And we were informed of it last week.
But I think that this is just an implementation plan. So you could still have a plan together, and that's not necessarily, you know, how it's all going to come out in the wash. But so if you could still just get the plan to them by that due date.
And I asked about that too, what level of detail, you know, how specific, and I really think, you know, the implementation plan of, if we say this is the goal that we would like to have this, and this, and maybe we don't have the exact expenses right now, to be able to put that into an implementation plan, and then, you know, if another month or two pass and, you know, after they determine what amount has been approved, we all know that doesn't mean the money just comes and you just go by. You still have to, that equipment would still have to go before the board to, you know, to release the funds, to say, yes, go ahead and purchase all of this, and, you know, utilize the grant funds for that. So other counties are using, you know, the desktop computers. Don't see anything gray with that in updating staff desktop computers, potentially laptops. Other people are asking for projector software. I know, Nikki, you had mentioned the Hoot Suite or something like that, and I checked into that because didn't want, you know, just kind of thought, well, how would that have to do with the surveillance system? But again, when you take in mind the dissemination and the response of, you know, if there's information coming through the system that the public needs to know, you know, that messaging, that social media messaging, that's what this software is for. And that's what some counties are putting in so that they can better manage the response and the dissemination of information. So that would obviously be a really good, you know, component to put in. Other people are putting Wi-Fi extension to boost their capability if they're, you know, if people have the iPads or needing to fill out online forms or anything like that. As you mentioned, technology for the Zoom room. Some people are putting, you know, more into EOC room. And I just wonder, you know, county-wise, is there everything that would need to be from a public health component already in the county's EOC? Or would there be, knowing, you know, the potential response, dissemination, is there anything that would need to go in there?
I honestly don't know, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Like, I'm not gonna guess it here, so.
But that could
But
be,
we need to find out though,
yeah.
for sure.
But I just wonder, you know, should we do a smart board in the Fricky building? You know, if we're gonna turn that room into the capability of, you know, being a Zoom room, having a smart board, that.
Which is something we can do.
Okay.
Which, I mean, if you guys were to purchase equipment, I would put it in for you guys. That's not that big a deal. But
Okay. But then still, you know, everything that you would need, Nikki, with your staff, you know, what you said, the earbuds, you know, the Surface Pro, that stuff too, obviously. And then that's easily, anything purchased through the grant can easily be cataloged through the county to show that it was purchased with IDPH funds, so that we can have that accountability and traceability back, to show that it was purchased through this grant mechanism. But Carrie, Sarah, Megan, did Megan, your laptop or your laptop and desktop need updated?
I don't have a laptop,
Okay.
currently, but it would be, I was using an old contract tracer one that.
Took a dive?
Yep, and it was very nice. So a laptop would be great, but, and then we, I think Dean, or not Dean, Dr. Behrens, mentioned upgrading like my desktop.
Mhm.
So Dalton got a couple quotes for those for me, so, and I had sent them out, but
Carrie, is there anything?
I don't know that buying a laptop for us would maybe get used enough to make it worth purchasing.
Okay.
You know, that's one thing we found with previous grants is that we went and bought all this stuff and then it just sat and it never got used. For the very reason that if 100% of the use of it isn't used for the purposes in which we purchased it, then we're subject to audit later. If they find out we've been using it for other reasons besides what it was purchased for, then they could go back and make us pay for that, or make us give that equipment back. So sometimes buying stuff just for the sake of buying stuff isn't a good use of the funds.
Mhm. Yeah. Any other questions or discussion point?
I was gonna make a comment, Becky, reading through the stuff, the material about using some of the funds for putting in the software and the hardware.
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
something that could be added to the plan so that we can at least, have that help and capability of paying the contracted people to put in that software, additional equipment or whatever it is?
Yep. Yeah, that would be, Dalton's time. Everything could be purchased in through the county and then out the door. Then if there's additional staff time for the IT at St. Anthony, that can also be included as well.
So I'm just thinking of Nicole here, time frame. A grant is due, Becky, you're a grant writer, there's a lot of pressure to get it done on time. What can we supply Nicole with to help her get this application done?
Well, that's where I think if we can just say today what the items, talk through how that fits a work plan. What I got from IDPH, and Heather, you can correct me, or Nikki, you can correct me on any outreach that you've gotten. This to me doesn't feel like a really detailed action plan that they're asking for. It's not pages and pages. It looks like just kind of in a table format that this is what we want to purchase. This is why we want to purchase it, how it fits in with this grant. And this is when we want to have it done by. And then, budget it sounds to me like they can be pretty rough estimates right now. And then of course, we can put a little, cushion in there that if prices change and say you're approved for X number of dollars, then 2 months down the road, when you're looking to purchase that and the prices change, that doesn't mean you have to spend that amount that you're approved for. But pipe in with that, anybody?
Heather, do you feel like since the January, December had the surge that they'll extend this? Or do you know, are all the counties have their application in and at 100%? Because it's hard to forecast what to do because we have the assessment. So it's hard to forecast if St. Anthony should spend most of the money or if the county should spend most of the money.
I think using the word application is a little formal right now. From what I can see, what that Bureau sent out to the counties is that it's just called an implementation plan. And it's really just that, a plan. So you don't have to have that level of detail right now. And there's a maximum amount. I think it's 124,655 for Carroll. And it sounds like the things that you're describing now between the hospital and the county, probably not going to be, that whole amount. So I think if you can just develop your plan right now of what it might look like and what you're asking to present, then you can tweak it as time goes on. Now, I haven't spoken with Leslie about this, so Becky, if there's something more that she shared with you, this is not the contract for my bureau, so I'm not the subject matter expert. All I can see are the documents that they put into Iowa grants.
Yeah, really, I didn't get the sense from her that this is a long-winded type of application either, that you're going to be held to. It's not your typical state grant. This is one of those where it looks like they got the funds and they're gonna hurry up and, have somebody account for them where they're gonna go to, but we'll figure out later how you're gonna use them because they don't have the surveillance system even done yet. So this is to try to, I look at this as just preemptive so that when the day comes that the surveillance system is updated, everybody's gonna say, oh yeah, we logged on with no problems because we had up-to-date equipment. And yes, we will be able to be trained no problem because we have.
All the technology will now be old by the time they get it up and going, and it won't work anyway.
Yeah.
And you'll still have to go buy new stuff.
Yeah.
Possible.
So I think it could probably be fine to say that, we're going to need X number of desktops, X number of laptops, X number of Surface Pro, and we can figure those numbers. Probably wouldn't be, I don't think it's out of line to say the technology for 2, Zoom rooms, and we can figure out where those would be. I do think one needs to be at Fricky. But you can say for your response, what if Fricky was hit by a tornado? You need to have another one that you can utilize. So we could say 2 and then put the top of the notch equipment. Let's do the nice smart board, and it would be nice to have the microphones. And this is great too, but if there's a really sharp technology, this is the opportunity to get that room set up so that anything major, down the road, you're ready for that. So then I think if we do that level of detail, just saying 2 of those rooms, let's not worry about the breakdown yet of how much that's public health, how much it's non-public health, because you're right, we don't know that right now. And if we put the 2 in there and then 3 months down the road only go with 1, well, whatever, we're not taking anybody's money, just not requesting to have that money reimbursed. And then I think the earbuds, however many, that would be, can just put a number on staff. That's a reasonable number. Software, that's going to be another action point, with obviously all of these desktops. I think they probably will all need for sure your office suite. So you can, you get the number for what that would include. Nikki, you had mentioned like a portable cart. I think having something portable as well. I don't know how you word that, but.
It could be a third Zoom room that you could set up.
Yeah.
On a quick note, on short notice, because you've got a cart that could be moved anywhere you need it to be moved to.
Yeah, I think that would be a great use of funds as well. And then the staff time, Dalton, would you be able to kind of roughly have a figure of how much time or dollar amount that would take?
Yeah, so you just gotta let me know exactly what you guys decide you're gonna want to do, because it depends on what system I'm putting in, obviously.
Okay.
You know, you mentioned like the crash cart, for instance. They even have like carts that you can mount a TV on, and then all your equipment sits on that, and you just kind of push that around. The upstairs, the courts actually have one. So that's what they use for their video conferencing. Victims sit down here, zoom back upstairs, and that way kind of keeps them separate. But that cart works pretty slick, and this is a big screen TV mounted onto it, computer on it, and you roll around. So cool. Think about. But if you guys let me know exactly what you want, where it's going, you can go at least on how many hours it's going to take us. So,
Okay.
and then give you an idea of like the odds and ends you're going to need, because obviously when you buy the equipment, there's cables and stuff that go into it too, so you spend a little extra money getting that stuff. But yeah, I can give you guys a leaf at rough estimate.
Would the wiring be up to snuff at Fricky in that meeting room to be able to connect the stuff that we need connected? Okay.
Yeah. I recently did a network upgrade out there, so they have a new switching up there and stuff. So it's
Oh, and I think server, Leslie did mention that too, if anybody needs their server upgraded. Are our servers good?
for the county, yes.
For Fricky, are they?
So Fricky actually goes back and talks to the county. So everything's located on.
Okay.
Not go into detail. Yeah.
Yeah. If anybody's listening, this is how you hack in.
Yeah, but they rely on us, so they have to come back here. They have their own firewall, but
Okay.
not a big deal. So.
All right. Would that be advantageous to have a dedicated server there?
Probably not.
All right. Does this help provide more clarity or guidance, or anybody else, or did it muddy it?
Nikki, with you not feeling well, do you need help? There's two, like he said, there's 2 business days.
I'm out of the office till Monday, but I mean, all you're gonna have to do is email me what you want me to put on there, I guess, or if you guys want to put it together, I can send it off, whatever. I mean, if you email me the amount that you guys need for Megan and I can add it to what we need, then.
Monday too, but
Yeah, it'll have to be, but as the, I think, do I have to submit? Because it's the contractor is Board of Health.
I think we've always submitted. They'll just send you the amendment when it's done and you'll have to sign off on it. But we've always submitted them.
Okay. Yep, just trying to, I've slacked on that, as the board chair, the board hasn't, I'd say 100% understood the level of oversight that was expected of us. And so we're just trying to rectify that moving forward. So just want to be able to see anything that goes out under, what the board is requesting. And so that was, again, the point of having this meeting too, is just for our purposes so that we are in line with IDPH's expectations of the Board of Health. So that's why, I'm asking, or we're asking for that level. So if there's any, Sarah's offering to help, and I can look over anything before it's submitted as well.
I think with the, short time frame here, Nikki not feeling well, I think it's whatever works the best to get it completed and done on time and submitted on time. And I mean, working together one way or the other is probably what it's going to take. So.
Yep. So, yeah, Sarah, I'll tag team that with you. And then, we can run that past Nikki, and then we can try to send as an FYI to the rest of the board prior to it being submitted. But right now, I guess we would need the board to make a motion or to, I mean, have more discussion if needed, but to make a motion that based upon what we've talked about today, if everyone is comfortable with the application proceeding forward as planned with the equipment that was discussed today.
In that equipment, was there also the phone system? I think you had talked about that earlier, about the triage phone system. That's included as well?
Nothing has been, that hasn't been thrown out. Is that, I mean, Nikki, do you see a need for that could be utilized?
I'm sorry, I missed what was said.
The other day, the board was talking about trying to relieve some of the pressure on the public health and actually having kind of a computerized phone system that could direct callers to certain numbers or help answer questions that are just, you know, routine type questions. So you don't have to answer every phone call. I think there was an system somewhat like that. Is that right, Becky?
Yes, yep.
That's what you were talking about the other day?
Is that, how expensive are those though?
It depends. So like right now, the courthouse, for instance, we have a phone server that we host on site. And so you gotta kind of choose if you're gonna go hosted or non-hosted, but I mean, you're still talking, we're talking about for the freaky buildings, is that right? Or
Well, if there's a way to integrate it in, you know, with public health at St. Anthony or, you know, at Fricky, either or.
So St. Anthony has some sort of hosted system now, don't they? Like where you call and you press 1 or whatever.
Is there the capability to triage further, Nikki or Eric, that within public health that can be separated out from the rest of the hospital system?
I'd have to ask our IT guys. I'm not up on that. But you have to remember too that, you know, Nikki also does home health and hospice. So if we did that, we'd have to break out her time for the usage of the phone for public health. And at that stage, I just wonder how much that's worth doing.
What would it be?
I'm not overwhelmed with calls now, so I mean, I'm fine with the way that it's going.
Okay.
Like, I don't know what their phone server is. I could tell you, I mean, I can tell you that like when we replaced our phone system, it was like, I want to say $52,000. Maybe it came out to.
Okay.
So I mean, it's a chunk of change. So, but that was to replace the whole phone system with new IVR, everything, and a new server and all that. So, and in the hospital, like I said, they might already have something in place where they'd be able to do that. I know I can in my system, and we're ready to put phones in the freaky building. We're ready. So it would be, I can do it in the freaky building. I don't know about the hospital because that's their IT department. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Did anyone want to make that motion or have more discussion or different motion?
What was the motion?
Basically for the application to proceed based upon the equipment that we talked about today.
I'll make a motion. This is Julie, and I'll make a motion to proceed with the implementation plan for the grant with the items and equipment that we talked about at this meeting.
Okay, is there a second? I'll actually second that. I think I can do that.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Was that an aye, Art?
Yes, that was an aye.
Just making sure. All right. Anything else? Anyone?
So to be clear, you and Sarah are going to work on putting the plan together?
Well, we can assist with that. Yeah, we're help out to make sure that everything can be completed on time.
She sent it to us.
Yeah, if you have anything started, maybe it can just be like a share document or or just email it to me and Sarah.
Just let me know what you guys need from me, because I can quote stuff pretty quick, so.
Start quoting.
Well, I don't know what you guys want, that's why.
What
We gave
movie?
you- We gave you a good list.
Here's a pile of quotes.
Anybody else have anything?
No,
Okay.
So will we be meeting again or
As
just
we-
by email?
We have the approval of going forward with the items as stated. So I don't think, Heather, you can correct me, but I don't think we have to have another business transaction to formally approve what the final result is. But I think we can just share it as an FYI of what's being submitted.
Correct.
Or Heather, do you think we should have an approval?
No, I think what you have today is fine, and you can just plan on your next normal meeting.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Well, with that, I guess I'd entertain a motion to dismiss or motion to adjourn
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
and a
No.
second.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.